Hello, it's Bethany, and I am a lower elementary teacher. And today I'm going to be talking about my Montessori journey updated for 2025 because I have one at the beginning of my YouTube channel, but I've just finished another 3-year cycle in my classroom, and I wanted to update you on where I'm at now, and I'll go back and explain from my beginning for Montessori. Again, I'm Bethany, I'm a lower elementary teacher, and here is a current picture of myself from this past school year, but my journey really started as a child. I was actually a Montessori child, all the way from early childhood, age of 3, until 5th grade. Now, I look extremely young in that first picture because my dad is a Montessori teacher, and he taught myself from grades 1st through 5th. My mom was also in my classroom, and my sister was also in the classroom. It was at a school. It was just, my whole family was there, all the, working and stuff. So, and being present and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. We are definitely a Montessori family, and I have learned a lot from being a Montessori child and now teaching it. I have so many fond memories from being a Montessori child. I am extremely lucky to be a Montessori child, and it was just a great experience for me. We are now going to just hop over middle school and high school because I just went to a regular school for those, and jump into being a Spanish major. I chose Spanish to major in college, and I've completed that. I have a bachelor's degree in Spanish, and I also got a chance to study abroad in Spain, but I'm also a world traveler. Before I went to Spain, when I was only 16 years old, my family went to Paris and London, and then most recently in 2022, I went to Greece, and that was an amazing time. I love traveling, and it will come back later in the story as to why I brought up this being the Spanish major. So after graduating in Spanish, I immediately started at a school doing a summer program, and actually it was the school my dad taught at, but not the school he taught at when I was a child, because I will be teaching there later in the story. But for 3 years, I worked at a different Montessori school, the first Montessori school I worked at. And then after being an assistant in the summer program, I was an assistant for the first full year of my Montessori journey as an adult. I was in a lower elementary classroom. I don't really have any pictures from that. My dad wasn't the teacher in the classroom I was an assistant in, so it's hard being an assistant, and it's also hard working with an assistant, and it's just a lot. It's great to have assistants because we know in Montessori there's a lot going on in the classroom, especially when you have larger class numbers and everything, and all the students are doing something different at one time. But so the first year I was an assistant. And then I went to the AMS training, so I am certified to teach lower elementary in the American Montessori Society. And I have the certificate for that. I loved my training. I actually went to a different state for my training, and I stayed in a hotel that had like a kitchen and everything for the 7 weeks of the training. The first week, since I did not have the early childhood certificate, we learned about the early childhood as like an overview, and then the next following weeks we learned math, language, and then geometry, and then the cultural weeks. I believe we had 2 cultural weeks, if I am remembering correctly, and that was a lot of fun. There were so many manuals to color in. There was so many presentations to give. It was kind of stressful at the end of the week when we had to give our presentation, but it was fun, and I would highly recommend a seat chair, like a floor seat. And I still have the one I use in my classroom today. I still use it to give presentations on. Floor seats are the best, so you don't hurt your back when you're on the floor giving a presentation. But again, I just loved my training. And then that whole first year, of course, the consultant came in twice to watch what I was doing. And then the following year, we almost didn't get to finish because you'll see the pandemic breaks out. And then the following year, they came 3 times to watch my thing. And then I got certified at the end of the second year. So my first year that I was teaching, I was in the training. I was actually co-teaching still at this first school. I was the assistant, and then I co-taught with my dad actually in a different classroom and in lower elementary, and that was a lot of fun. It was great to co-teach while doing the certification, because then you could like kind of pick which presentations you want to do, although my dad let me do all of the presentations. And then this was the year I really tried to make a bunch of different work plans. I like my work plans to be blank now. That year, like, we filled them in for the kids like at the beginning of the week, and then they all saw the presentations. But I like to do blank work plans. But this year I created so many different work plans, and that is when I got a lot of different processes out of the way of how to create them, because in the later years I created my all-time favorite work plan that you can get at my free hub of resources if you join below. That it's blank, it's just perfect. The kids finish their work, and I don't know, it's the best one I have found, and I have tried to, I haven't found it, I made it myself, but it's the best one I have made, and I made a lot this first year of co-teaching. So at the end of my first year of co-teaching, it was actually the pandemic, where we were all at home for the last 3 months. So me and my dad stayed in the same house, and we recorded videos. I can actually link the videos of bloopers down below. It was, as you could see, the sock puppet on the screen. It was an interesting time, but every day we would record a video lesson for the students to do and post that, and then we would also hop on the call as a whole group for like 30 minutes, and then each individual kid for 30 minutes. Luckily there was 2 of us at the time, so we like split up the kids, but it was a lot of work. And then my second year, so this is now teaching, I put the photos from like when I taught online, but my second year during the pandemic, I was a solo teacher in the class, and so we were in person again, but some parents wanted online, so I had students in person and online. And so the kids that were online with us all day in the classroom, and they could see what was going on. But I also sent packets of works home as well. But that was my last year at this school, because I had the crazy idea that I could just start my online business, Parts of the Language LLC, and it would do so well that I would not need to teach anymore. And to now, I don't really remember why exactly I stopped like wanting to teach in a school, but I there's this, that, and the other reason. But I started my online business, Parts of the Language LLC, which you're currently at the YouTube channel for. So I still have it. This is its 4th year, and I do it as a side business now. I started Parts of the Language LLC to be mostly a Spanish business, and I do a lot of Spanish stuff, but also it turned into a Montessori business, and I named it Parts of the Language because so it could always be a Montessori thing as well, because like in Montessori, we have like parts of the reptile, parts of the sun, parts of the whatever. So I thought it was a cute plan where it's like parts of the language, because you're learning a language, and I thought it might be about more language learning, but it's really turned into a bunch of Montessori stuff, which I'm super happy about. We almost have 500 people in my free hub of resources. So if you want to join the free hub of resources down below, it has a lot of amazing things. 36 week of editing sentences for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. That's the whole year. A bunch of math cards, just a lot of stuff. My favorite work plan ever is in there. So I started it in June, a little bit less than 4 years ago. And then it was weird when August came and I wasn't going back to school. But then the school I went to as a child reached out to me in the beginning of October of that year and said that their early childhood / kindergarten teacher was leaving. And I was like, whoa. And I was brought up just because like my dad had worked there for so many years and they had heard that I got the training. And I was like, whoa, this is a lie, like I'm not sure I really want to do this. Well, it was funny. It was funny because at the beginning of that same school year, the lower elementary teacher, this is how they knew I wasn't working at the other school anymore. The lower elementary teacher couldn't go back to class. So they asked literally 2 days before school started if I would come and be the lower elementary teacher. And I was like, yeah, sure. But then all the parents had found other schools. So then I was like, oh, okay, then that's okay. It's whatever. And there was still a kindergarten teacher at the time there. So then I got another call and they're like, well, we need like the office person administrator. Would you like to do that? And I was like, no, I don't want to be the administrator of a school. So, at this point, because I'm still at this point, I've only taught 2 years, I was just like, no. So then they called me back up in October and I was like, oh, well, let me think about it because kindergarten is way different than lower elementary. And at first I said, no, I don't want to do it. But then I was like, okay, I have a feeling that I should do this. I want to do this. Let me just do this. So I did. And early childhood and kindergarten is way different. But what I will say is that I learned so much more skills and so much more about where the students come from teaching in the early childhood classroom. It made me appreciate and realize the students, where they came from and how they learn and how they grow for when they get to the 6 to 9. And I'll always take all that learning I did teaching in that classroom with me into this. So at the end of this year, I said, you know what? I really want to reopen the elementary at this school because that's what I like to do. So I got to reopen the lower elementary at my classroom, in my classroom that I'm currently at the current school, the one I went to as a child. And I just finished my first 3-year cycle. And what's special about this and why I'm kind of making this video because it's like an end of an era almost, is because a lot of those kindergartners stayed with me all the way to 3rd grade. So I taught a few students for 4 whole years. So it's kind of like a bittersweet, sad, it was amazing they stayed with me so long, but I'm pretty devastated that I left. But I did so many things these past 3 years, and most of it I documented on this YouTube channel if you would like to see it, and go back and watch if you haven't already. It's just kind of an end of an era thing. It's been a great 3 years, and I'm going back next year, and I'm going to see. It's going to be very different. And I don't even know what to expect with a bunch of because I had a lot of students leave. So, it will be just interesting to see what do I want to do. I already have some ideas for next year because I want to do some things differently, some new things. But yeah, that's my journey. I also have my lower elementary scope and sequence down below for purchase and a few other hubs and things if you would like to purchase them. So thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.